Hey guys, welcome back. This is Carter with BBT Trippin'. It's great to see you guys. It's been a bit. We're on the Ravencoin Cruise here in 2023 on the Oasis of the Seas, the Royal Caribbean. We're also going to be doing a cruise next year on the Icon. We'll have some links to the details of that down below. We'll love to see you guys out there with us. It's an open cruise. You guys can book it too. We'll put some details down there again in the description below for you can join us on the next cruise. But I'm here with Tron Black, and we're going to go through just what's been going on with Ravencoin. We're obviously walking into a bull market right now. We're seeing Bitcoin and a lot of the other altcoins start to move. And today I want to just talk differentiation of what Ravencoin is. Tron is going to be great at telling what all those differences are and just give you guys some exposure to what's been going on with Ravencoin over the last year. Let's get into this. It's been a minute.
Yes.
Welcome, Tron.
Thanks.
How's it going?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's going great.
Yeah, but we've had a great time. We've done a couple different things out there this year. Not as many excursions as last year, but still getting out there. I guess since the last year we had this, has there been any changes or any kind of updates with Raven?
So it's been a bear market. So people have worked on Raven. We have some things that have been developed that would require basically some of the community to kind of help push out into to get it activated. That they're BIP9 wrapped, which basically means they won't activate until they hit a certain threshold. 75% of people are already running it. We have those. The pay to script hash is one of those that allows you to do a little bit more sophisticated scripting on assets specifically. Pay to script hash already exists for Raven, RVN, that token, but for assets need to be activated. It's not strictly necessary. Raven's running great, does assets really well. That's a necessary component, basically, to get the community to kind of activate that. So that's something that's been, we run it through 2 security tests, and then it's also running on one of the other ones, the 4.3, so they're running on there. So the code's being vetted, so we want to be really careful with it.
Yeah, for sure. And just to give some the folks out there what that would do for the assets, because we've already run that on the primary layer 1 part of the token, but the assets, what would that bring to assets? And this would be like for folks that want to create assets and then they have new functionality within their asset.
Yes, so assets really work already, and there's lots of functionality within assets. Pay to script hash specifically allows you to do more sophisticated scripts where you can do things where it's the script basically you can hold on to the script, and the script actually doesn't go on chain. It just has to match the hash. So you provide the script and the solution, and then as long as it matches the hash, and so you can make more sophisticated scripts for assets.
Awesome. Yeah, and then that gives the asset builders, again, more functionality, and if they want to get more elaborate on their particular, like if somebody creates an asset within Ravencoin's ecosystem, then they would have more opportunity to create different applications potentially, sub-wallets, those kind of things that would give them the key pair kind of things. Relationship. Well, that's awesome. So that's out there and just needs to be essentially activated. And that would be the node operators just going out there and running that.
Correct. Node operators, and then it's really important to get the economic actors, meaning the exchanges that are using Raven and things, they need to be on it before it activates. That's super important. Otherwise, kind of makes some gaps and holes and stuff. So.
Yeah, and that's like if you're moving money over to the exchange, like the Raven itself over to the exchange, they got to be running the same node. It's got to be the same network, essentially. So is it like a flag option? They can flag that they're going to be, like if somebody is coming from Bitcoin or hearing from Bitcoin, like when they're about to do like a software upgrade, as an example, they'll flag to say this is going, we're participating. So
the way it works is that you would run it and it wouldn't activate until enough people are on it. But we want to make sure that, and by we, it's actually the community. So that we need to make sure that all the economic actors, which would be folks in finance and ventures and whatnot, have upgraded to that software. And then it basically counts all the blocks and each cycle. So cycle is 2014 blocks, and we count all the blocks in that cycle. And if like an 85% threshold is hit, then we activate it one more cycle later. So 2014 blocks later, we activate it.
Yeah, and for folks following along that have seen Bitcoin do this with like Taproot, as you'll see, essentially there's people that will have created dashboards to look for those flags of saying, hey, I'm running this new version. that will then trigger essentially maybe a dashboard that somebody's created to show, hey, we have a high market participation on this. And then that next one will say, okay, it's going to activate in the next cycle. And then a dashboard, if somebody was to create that, would then show that awareness for people to know, hey, there's inertia moving this way. Do you want to participate or not on that? So that's a good one for folks to understand from the telemetry. And there's a ton of people that are building various dashboards. I know Raven dashboards has put a lot of updates out there too in the space. So that's great. I mean, so continuous development, which is a critical piece of any token in general or coin in this market, that they're looking at any kind of critical updates, and this being the baseline of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin sees updates, I know you guys kind of watch for those and stuff to see.
Anything security related needs to be looked at. So security related things are related to Bitcoin, the ones that we're aware of it. Any kind of serious security concerns that have moved over and updated.
Yeah, and I do remember before we got on here, I was asking folks what kind of questions, and somebody was asking, is Taproot compatible? Would Raven ever think about adding like Taproot or any of those kind of updates that Bitcoin?
It's definitely possible, because the heritage of Bitcoin is the heritage of Ravencoin is Bitcoin. So the code was at one point the same. Mm-hmm. So those could probably be integrated. Yep.
Yeah. So that was one of, they're like, hey, has Raven changed so much that the base code that you could do Taproot? So one of the folks that were probably even a Taproot developer, somebody writing scripts in Taproot, was wondering if Raven could be part of that.
Yeah. So there would be two parts to that. One would be integrating Taproot for Raven for RVN, and the other one would be Taproot for assets. So you kind of need to make sure that those are all compatible. Although a lot of the things that Taproot is built for, those things, a lot of those things are already built into Raven. It was designed specifically to kind of handle assets and do sub-assets and things like that natively, sort of been built in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know over this last year, with the advent of like ordinals on Bitcoin, and we've seen a lot of the asset side being leveraged with the IPFS integration on the NFT markets. Mm-hmm. And I would say that that's probably been a little more growth in the Ravencoin. I still see people always tagging me and stuff of adding new things to the market. I mean, have you seen any? Is there anything that you want to highlight around like the NFT markets? Have you seen any other?
Yeah, so recently there's new wallets, Honeyblock wallet, which goes into the browser. Candy Shop is new. It's also an NFT platform. There's several NFT platforms, and they're sort of like competing with each other. And, so it's very, very active NFT community.
Yeah, I know some game developers out there have been looking. I mean, we get quite a few messages just behind the scenes of like, hey, I'm interested in crypto and the blockchain space, mainly around integrating, a particular chain and its asset abilities to have like references to maybe like rare items in a game and that sort of thing. And there's some obvious economic things that people have to work through because of like, are you a money services broker if you're starting to exchange things that have value in that? But, I think the gaming industry out there in general has dealt with this for a long time when it comes to like, CSGO skins as an example, right? Game skins and stuff like that that's traded on Steam. So I think that it's not as far of a bridge as most think, but like if you're a developer out there and you're looking at a low cost platform to possibly start some of your artwork on there and then having some interlinking with games, that it does definitely provide if it's a web game especially, it does give you some options out there. Raven having this built in.
Yeah, some of the advantages specifically for games. So when you create an asset on Ravencoin, it gets a guaranteed unique name. It's sort of like getting a guaranteed unique domain name. Mm-hmm. Right? So it can't be spoofed or copied or counterfeited and things like that. You also get sub assets under that, so you can actually kind of create like a game brand and then create assets under that, and you get the entire namespace under your game brand, for example, or even a studio and then a game brand and then game, has multiple layers of sub assets. So it's really good for that. And then also attaching the metadata, so the information about that asset is built into Ravencoin is IPFS, which links to IPFS, and it allows you to create, let's say, graphics, for like NFTs and things like that are counterfeit proof, because you're storing the actual hash of the graphic or of the song or whatever. So that's been really helpful for a lot of NFT creators.
Yeah, and then some of those questions that we get, like, I get them usually from like a developer person coming to me, and it's like, and that the asset structure is like a children of selected member kind of set up like in a database. So it's, you create your game name, and then you have the children of that selected member. So then if you're a developer out there, that's kind of the structure that you have in that. And you guys have not the community has created essentially the API, kind of how to set that up, right?
Yes,
like
yeah,
the structures.
and it's built directly in, and the API the native API of Ravencoin has all of that built in. And because of that, all of the explorers, not all of the explorers, but most of the explorers will also show assets, sub-assets, transfers of assets. The IPFS will actually show the PDF or graphic or movie or whatever that's attached to the token. The explorers for Ravencoin have that built in because it's built into Ravencoin.
Built into the chain. Yeah. And that's like Tron and I were talking before we went live about like the differentiation. I mean, there's a lot of GPU tokens out there right now. I mean, Flux, I know, is having they're having their run right now with useful proof of work, trying to work on contained jobs that can be an element of that proof of work that provides an output, not just the key of the proof of work. It's actually providing you like a packaged outload that you can then go and use in the real world for whatever useful proof of work that it's ran. I know Dynex is on the scene right now and trying to do the same kind of thing, but like from a differentiation of Raven, I've always said, and I'll ask Tron the same question, is like, it's a layer one system where it's the things that you're doing is on the chain as part of a chain host. So it's not like a separate sub database that's symbolically connected to the Raven or to the actual chain itself. Where like in Ethereum it has like 3 databases, and you have the base layer, and then you have other scripting databases that run off to the side. Like everything that you're doing in Raven, it's done on the chain. So with the linkage to the IPFS, the bundled assets, but that's my interpretation of what I've seen and how we ran it. But I would like to ask Tron on this. Is that interpretation correct? I mean,
a good way to think about it is just this is very much like Bitcoin, because it started from Bitcoin, and the assets work a lot like Bitcoin. So you create your own asset, and then the difference is you get all of them, right? But all the transactions are all UTXO transactions, so you can see the linkages in between all of the transactions, just like you can in Bitcoin. So you would have UTXOs for your assets, and each of those assets can be linked to metadata. And so, it's got the heritage of Bitcoin, so it's different from, let's say, Ethereum and creating scripting type things. Also on Ethereum, you can create your asset, for example, and have its own name, and someone else can choose that same name because there's kind of this master database that's built into the chain. So it's not a master database, but built into the chain is uniqueness of the assets. So when you choose an asset, you basically, before you create it, you have to kind of ask whether it's already been taken. Once you create an asset, though, you get the entire namespace. So once you create an asset, your sub-assets can be named anything you want. All of this is kind of like master planned kind of a while back, before 2018, before it was launched. And it's been running pretty strong for 5-6 years.
Yeah, and that's, I think the differentiation is a key point, because it's going to matter to the folks that are builders and developers, especially when they don't want to get I'm looking at, not to pick on Ethereum so much on this, but I'm probably going to pick on Ethereum quite a bit on this, just where you had like a lot of, between the bridging and stuff, all that extra complexity has created a lot of gaps in potential issues, and we see that between the bridges between their different coins and stuff. While you have that other functionality, we can go cross, from Ethereum to Matic as an example. There's also been exploitation between that because of the complexity of that, where when just looking at the APIs and looking at what you can deploy, is way more leaner and not trying to rhyme, but cleaner in the way your implementation can be on something like Raven. So when people are looking at what the differences of these chains are, some are very highly complex, and the development requirements, you compound that complexity.
And super simple to create assets. You can just pick one of the wallets, and it's sort of like, what's your token name? Make sure it's unique. How many do you want? 1 to 21 billion. Is it reissuable? Meaning, can you make more up to 21 billion? And what data do you want to attach that to, so people know what the token is about, and then create. That's pretty much it. It's people, 5-year-olds can kind of create their own asset. They own all of them, and then it's really up to you. Is it a gift card for your time, or is it or connected to real world assets, meaning the documents can be there. Something that's a share of a company or a building and things like that. And those exist today. Brick BC is doing that. We've got stable coins or things like that.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Where we're doing kind of a demo of how it would work when assets first deployed. I was doing a boring, not a flamethrower asset registration. So it was a way for you to actually tie your limited supply. There's only 5,000 of them. There's 20,000 of them, boring, not a flamethrowers. And then a few folks went out there after we had built it and registered their boring, not a flamethrower there. So it was the registration process was essentially, I created the boring, not a flamethrower token. It was the acronym of that. And each sub asset was the 1 through 20,000. So there's only 20,000 quote unquote tokens issued under that, and it was your registration number. So like for mine, I had number 5234. So it was out of the 20,000, I took a picture of that with that asset and then saved that as a PDF on there to then show that linkage that I had that serial number with that unique, asset under Raven. And then anything subsequently after that, because there's 3 layers to those assets, I could create unique records of when I used that flamethrower. So I have like 3 or 4 pictures of the events. And the basic concept was showing that you could take something unique like, like let's say a car's VIN number that maybe somebody had owned that was, it was a family member, maybe it was somebody famous, and then you could create attribution to that VIN number through those other sub assets. So then, like if it was used in a movie, there was a person that had created assets in this way where they had taken, like an old 70s Cadillac and it was used in a movie. They had bought it, they had the certificate of authenticity that was on that movie. They wanted to have that anchored in time, essentially. So they took a picture of the actual title of it, and then had made sub assets of all these different scenes in the movie that the car was in, right? And it just like was always out there, and they're using it as like the long-term history versus having it uploaded to like Imager or something else that may centralized company will go down and then you'll lose that data. It's on Ravencoin forever, and that's kind of one of those cool asset use cases where if you're trying to create that long-term, put it in a memory of time and space, you could do that within something like Ravencoin. And yeah, it was just a unique use case to use that. So I think we've shown a lot of the asset, related stuff on Ravencoin. So we've seen, obviously, this market's starting to return. And I know that over the bear market, we've lost a few exchanges. There's been obviously some turmoil like FTX and stuff like that. Bittrex was a pretty popular US-based exchange, but I've used a couple. I'll mention like Uphold. We use Uphold for some of the stuff. Uphold does Ravencoin. Binance US does it. Is there any other exchanges or anything that you know?
I don't have the whole list, but OKX is another pretty big one.
Yeah, there's. I know a lot of people have been waiting for Coinbase. I know all the paperwork and stuff's been submitted to it.
Yep. Probably submit that again because it seems like it's a perfect fit.
Yes.
They really want to worry about it. They really have to be concerned about ones where the founders kept a bunch of funds and could be deemed as security and things like that. In Ravencoin, there was never any of that. Right? It was all mined into existence. There was no developer set aside or any kind of set aside or pre-mine or anything like that. So it really is a good fit for Coinbase, or really any exchange that worries about all those types of issues.
Yeah, I like to call it the commodity coin, where it's a fair market launch. I mean, I know we've said this story a few times. I mean, I first found it after watching Patrick Byrne, Overstock CEO, and I'd mentioned it at the North American Bitcoin Conference in 2018, and I remember having a conversation quickly about, what it was, and then immediately came to you guys right out of that conference, which I know, like, the early folks that were first starting to mine, it was like I put it on blast right away. I was like, hey, fair market launch, these are, great events. It gives everybody equal opportunity to, mine the coin early, and, made the first video right there at the end of January. I think it was like January 20th, 21st, somewhere around there in 2018. Just to let people know, hey, this was an alternative thing, fair market launch. And I know a lot of folks jumped on it really early to start, mining the coin, and then, the assets came shortly after that. But, I know that there was a published, so I know we talked about kind of this last year. Where do you see, Tron, the future of Ravencoin over time, like when it comes to development and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I see it as being one of the best platforms for asset issuance. There's some coins that if they need that DeFi type exchange, it may not be the best for that. But if you don't, if you're trying to do something where you want to contain the market for like gift cards and things like that, it's perfect for that real estate thing. Especially sometimes you actually don't want that DeFi thing, because if you create a token and it kind of goes on to DeFi and kind of gets has an issue with regulation, that can be an issue. So Ravencoin doesn't have that kind of built in, which is like a pro Anacon. But I see it being a platform where if you're worried about the legality of the platform, then so some of the platforms, they're still kind of challenging legally, and challenging the platforms that are out there. Ravencoin's one of the safer ones. And then if you want to create tokens that have guaranteed unique names so that you can brand with it, you don't have to worry about somebody spoofing it because they've grabbed a similar name or identical name in many cases, then it's a really good platform for that. And then if you're not a developer, it's also a really easy platform to just create tokens that represent whatever. It can represent an hour of your time or something for allowance for your kids or things like that. But these tokens can be like, hey, redeem this for a movie or ice cream or whatever. You can create like a kind of an economy of those types of things. Super easy. And lots of wallets.
Yeah, and there's a really good development ecosystem. I mean, there's always, you'll see folks that'll create these kind of maps of different categories, if it's real estate, if it's, game development, FinOps, financial operations, those type of things. There's an ecosystem out there, and we'll put some links below for folks that are looking for something more specific, but a lot of it is just, go out there, take a try on it. Is there, I haven't seen, and there probably is, a testnet. Cool.
There's a testnet.
Yeah.
There's a testnet.
So folks that wanted to do some development, and how could they access that information? Like if they're wanting to try to mock up something, and
so two good places would be Ravencoin.org or Ravencoin.Foundation, and there's actually a whole bunch of places after that. So I only mentioned those two because Ravencoin.org is kind of like, I'm not going to say official because it doesn't really exist as a decentralized project, but it has access to the GitHub links and the different things. And then Ravencoin Foundation, it's more of a spoke kind of system. So it's got this big footer that just has hundreds of links to kind of all of the different ecosystem things, including development kits, marketing kits, all of the images and things all related to Ravencoin. You can use them for free. You can put them on shirts and cups and coats and whatever.
So yeah, the
Ravencoin meetup at sea shirt.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to use the images and things like that. This whole marketing kit which will have the images in high res and low res, black and white, and vector, and that kind of thing. So if you want to do that kind of thing. So there's no, you don't have to ask for permission on any of this stuff, right? You can fork the repo. It's all MIT licensed, which is what Bitcoin was, so we can use that as a starting point for Ravencoin. But it's open for exploration and development. So that's where I'd start, is those two places. Mm-hmm. But don't finish there. Use those as just a launch pad into the whole ecosystem and get fun learning about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean that kind of really does help well into like any kind of meetups and stuff. I mean, I know there was a couple of meetups that were happening in Salt Lake. I don't know if there's any other plans for this next year or not, or if you guys are planning on anything like that. But any of the source, if those do come up, if you guys are having local Ravencoin meetups, you can always publish those out there. tag myself on Twitter, Tron, and we'll always retweet it, especially if you have like a community, because it really is a community-driven thing. This is what drove myself into in crypto space very early. Is like I like the open sourceness of it, and then people that are contributors, and there's a lot of you guys out there who's crazily smart at developing things and are innovative, and every ecosystem needs that. So like if you're on the fence about it, go out there, ask some questions. There's a Discord out there too for Ravencoin that's pretty vibrant. And people that'll help.
Yeah, Discord, Reddit. There's pretty good sized Twitter following. If you are building something or doing something for the ecosystem, you can DM me at Tron Black on Twitter, and I can get it put on the Ravencoin Foundation website. If you're doing a social kind of channel or whatever, I can put it on the Ravencoin.org website just so that people can find it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, I think it was good to give everybody kind of update. Is there anything we haven't really covered with what over the past year or what we're looking at? Well, obviously, have the icon sees Ravencoin Cruise that we'll have at the bottom. But.
Well, I'm in the middle of writing a book, so hopefully I'll get that done. Get more information about that.
There you go. Yeah. And any sneak peek of what kind of the structure, what kind of book is it going to be?
Yeah, so it's going to cover lots of stuff, kind of the early history of kind of how Ravencoin came to be. Just kind of a whole bunch of stories that kind of stuff lined up just perfectly in lots of different ways, and made for some interesting stories. There'll be a technical section which will kind of help you get started and how to use assets and how to call them and things like that. And then there's a series of essays. I've written about 80 different essays kind of related to mostly Ravencoin, but some essays on just decentralization and crypto in general. And so there'll be a section with some of those, and some of them I wrote contemporaneously while they were happening, that will be as part of the stories that are in there.
No, that's great. Can't wait till that comes out. It'll definitely be on the bookshelves, and we'll definitely share it for folks and stuff too. And I think that history is really good. I mean, we're getting into, now that crypto's been around for a bit, right? We're getting into another like almost generation of folks that are discovering, right? And I look at some of the comments and stuff on the channel, and when we put stuff on Twitter and looking at some of the younger folks in development. I have folks that hit me up on LinkedIn every once in a while. I have this kid from Cornell University reach out and was like, hey, I'm going into the financial world. I've been kind of back studying. I didn't realize this was around for so long. Talking about the crypto space in general. But you were getting this next kind of evolution of folks, coming into the space and looking for some of that history of how it got there. So,
and we literally met someone last night that was in crypto, and their son was at home mining Ravencoin, so we got them on video. Very,
very, very. That was awesome, actually. They just turned around. They heard us talking about the market in crypto in general going up, and we talked. We were just kind of talking before a show, and they turned around and said, "Hey, we mine crypto, we mined Ethereum," and they got their son on a FaceTime and said, "Hey, here's some other fellow crypto folks," and he was like, "Wait a minute here, we're mining Ravencoin," and once he saw Tron, he's like, "Holy crap!" So it was kind of cool. Those organic experiences are fun, especially when you see, because there are a lot of like microcosms of different folks all over that are either mining or maybe watched a couple of YouTube videos and got into the space. So seeing that's the point. I mean, that's the point of the decentralization and the open sourceness of this stuff, is that you can contribute almost your life's work to developing this stuff, right? And then you see all these folks that kind of take it and either mine it or they'll build applications on it, and just those interactions and discussions. I mean, it's fun and it's good and it's natural. It's natural conversation. So yeah, we'd love to hear some of that. And make sure, if you guys have been long-time followers or first time followers, any of that, comment below. Is there things that you want to see like in the Ravencoin or in the general space? Make comments down there. I always love sharing that with Tron and stuff when people give options of what they think too. And again, this is Ravencoin is a coin for the people, right? So it's
definitely
there's anybody can contribute, and then it's all about do the nodes run the software that's being that's an update. And there's a lot of soft fork stuff you can do too. It's not necessarily you have to hard fork the coin all the time.
Yeah, if you want to add your own features, as long as they don't touch the as long as they don't change as long as they're accepted by the core rules, you can improve it however you want without and it still will work. And you rewrite it in another language as long as those core rules are adopted.
Yep. Because change the core rules is a hard fork, and that's real hard.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
That's the hard part. Yeah, you won't get.
But on purpose. That's what makes it stable. That's what makes it unique and have a value. So.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I mean, Tron, I want to thank you for having the time to come over and do this.
That's great.
Yeah. This is Ravencoin at Sea, and we're going to see you guys on the icon hopefully here in the next just under a year.
Yeah, November 9th, I think.
Yeah, November 9th
to the 16th. Just so you know, the icons will be the largest cruise ship at sea and probably like the second or third largest ship on the water.
On the planet. So it's going to be a fun cruise. We do. I know that we do have some group rates. They're very limited. We'll put some links below. But then so if you're right on the fence, it's one of those things. Those group rates will go quick. That we try to get every year for it. So definitely hit the link below, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.